So I am Karen Chang. I am the founder and managing director of Umbrella Consulting Vancouver. I've been in the SYSPRO world for quite a long time and in the SYSPRO community for a long time. And I'm really excited to launch this new product that Jeremy has developed called AnyView. I'm going to let Jeremy introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone. And for those that don't know me, nice to meet you. As Karen said, I'm a senior consultant here at Umbrella. My background is very much on the technical side. My education and first jobs were all programming, so that's why I kind of have been doing this on the side. And then why I even started making this thing was saw a lot of our clients using things like Access databases, Excel sheets, just to pull very simple information. And you know, the Excel sheets and the Access databases start to pile up. And so I kind of started working on this as a one solution for all of that.
Jeremy. So what is AnyView? AnyView is an interactive list view that complements SYSPRO, developed by us, Umbrella Consulting. And like Jeremy mentioned, we built this list view to address some pain points that we've heard from all of you, users of SYSPRO, just trying to find a simpler way of viewing data without having to write a new report or go to multiple windows within SYSPRO to pull that information, and also at the same time to be able to mass update certain information as well. So it's a powerful data query tool that combines a user-friendly interface with complex queries that gives users like fast and accurate visibility of the data. And as I just mentioned, it's more than just reporting or view only. It also has the ability to update or add information into the SYSPRO database. So real-time changes can be made to key data points. And the best thing is that you can use this product without a SYSPRO license. So if you have some users that need to look at certain data and they're not in SYSPRO or processing transactions in SYSPRO all the time, they can be working in AnyView and not be consuming one of your SYSPRO user licenses. You can mass edit, which Jeremy's going to demo to you. If you have like a bunch of, say, purchase orders and you want to update the due date, rather than opening up every purchase order one at a time in PO maintenance, you have a list view that you can actually update multiple POs at the same time. So just an example there. Avoid clutter, which is the last point on my screen here, in your screens by viewing comments and custom fields exclusively in AnyView. So rather than going into a specific record inside SYSPRO, viewing it in a query, and then moving on to the next record to view comments, you're viewing everything within a list view and all the comments next to it. The technology, or what was used to build AnyView, is based on 4 pillars. Python is the main programming language that AnyView was built on. It has a back-end database in SQL. It also integrates with Office 365, and it also uses XML. So that's your 4 technology points. Business cases, or in other terms, views. These are some examples of views that can be used with AnyView. It is called AnyView because it can really be any view of your data, and hence the and more at the bottom. You can use the AnyView as a purchasing tool, as a shipping schedule, as a quote tracker, as a collections tool, a job schedule, GL query, project management, and basically whatever you want to view, and pull the data out of SYSPRO to be able to see it in a very simple way. For today's demo, Jeremy's going to show you the purchasing tool and the collections tool. So those are the 2 that are boxed. And we'll move right into the demo. And then after the demo, we'll talk a bit about the roadmap and what are some of the enhancements we're planning for AnyView, and we'll also give you information on pricing, and then we'll have a Q&A section at the end. Jeremy, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Awesome. And we're going to share my screen here. Now, I know that sometimes I talk a lot and I'm going to be conscious of time. So if I go a little bit fast, remember there's a recording that we'll make available as well. If you have a question while I'm going through, just put it into the chat and we'll try to answer all those at the end. And so like Karen was mentioning in the slides, AnyView is really named right on the nose. You can use this tool to look at any view. In this case, I'm going to show most of the demo in the purchasing example. And then I'll show you one more, which is the collections example, just to show you how the same tool can be used for different functions. So first thing to note is that up here in the file, we've got a couple of options that we can go with. I'm just going to start at the top right and move down so you can see everything. You can see history, which is important. So you can tailor the AnyView to show a certain date range. But if you ever want to see history of what's gone through AnyView, you can also look at the history here. And when you open that up, it's just a plain view of all transactions that have gone through since the beginning of time. On top of that, there is settings, so you can make the font bigger for anyone that was worried about being able to see. You can go font down, font up. There's also a keyboard shortcut showing there. The help, just call us if you need something. And then the admin screen. So in AnyView, there's 3 levels of security. There's an admin type user. There's a read-write user, which means that they can edit and view. And then there's just a basic view-only user that can't edit. You might use the view-only for those people Karen was mentioning, maybe warehouse workers that just need to see what's coming in today, or purchasing people that they don't need to edit the POs. They just need to see when something's coming in. The full read-write, they have access to all the columns that you've defined as writable. And that is completely up to the operator. So you don't have to have every column writable. You can have 1 or 2, and then the rest is just read-only data. So there's a lot of flexibility in what your security can be. And so first off, searching, pretty important when you have a big list view. All you would have to do for searching is type in, for example, PO 462, press enter, and then you can see there's my PO 462. If there was more lines, or if I had a view that allowed multiple of the same PO, they would all show up here as well. You'll see along the bar here that there's a bunch of dates, date ranges. So these are all the weeks. And what I've done for this example is I said only go back 2 weeks in the past and go only forward 10 weeks. But that's again a setting. So I can go 52 weeks into the past, and I can go 52 weeks in the future if I wanted to. It just depends on how long you want this to be, or how far in the future you actually need to see. And what these weeks do is they filter based on the date column that you specify. So in this case, I'm going by order due date because that's what's important to me for the purchasing tool. And so if I go to, for example, week we're in here, you can see that the due date is 12/15 because I went and changed them all so we had something to look at. But if you go down the weeks, you can see only the POs that are due in that week show up. So you can see that as you go through, there are different sets of POs. And then before I show you how to edit data, I'm just going to go here. So there's a date range. If I don't want to see just a week, I can go the full date range, press enter, and it'll show me whatever falls between that range. In this case, I think it was January 2022 to today. So you can see it shows all of those, not just a week. Columns, right now I have every column showing, but if I'm an operator and I don't need to see the warehouse or the supplier class, I can come to this button and simply untick what I don't want to see. Press the check mark, and they immediately move without having to reset or restart or anything like that. Excel, everyone knows and loves Excel. Any view that you have here, if you click the green button, it'll prompt you to save to Excel. I'll just go ahead and hit that. And you see it just opens up. Hey, where do you want to save it? I can save it, and then as soon as it's created that file for me, we see it's exactly the rows and columns that I had shown. So if I wanted more columns, I could have picked them and then exported. If I wanted more rows, I could, have a broader date range and then export. And then, of course, now that it's in Excel, you can do whatever Excel wizardry you want to do. Refresh is just a refresh if you need to. Filters in AnyView, there's a number of filters you can use that are admin defined. So if you're in the admin role, you can actually create new filters. In this example, I just put together a couple of filters just as an example. So, POs that are late, it's important. In this case, I don't have any that are late. Due in 15 to 30. It doesn't look like I have any there as well. But if I did, that's where they'd show up. So not a very good example of filters, but you can see I put it back to all, and now everything comes back. Moving down, I already showed you the list view row. Another nice feature here is that you can have a sort, but then you can also have a compound sort. So you can sort by order due date and then something else, maybe warehouse, maybe shipping instructions, so that you've got all of your POs that are due on December 27th, and then you sort them by the shipping instructions. So all the rows are together, all the C's together. And to do that, you just come over to any of the columns that you want to add to the sort, right click, add to filter, and now you got your order due date and then shipping instructions. And you can see that the C went down to the bottom there. So your December 31st is in order, and then all the roads first, and then the C. And if I had other ones like air or camel, they'd all show up here as well. The second one here, this apply group ID. So one of the nice things about this, and one of the features that's in there for project tracking or shipment tracking or container tracking, is that you can put an ID on several POs. So for example, if I hold down my control button and I click a number of rows, I can hit this little flag and it groups them. So now 1026 is the ID that was assigned, and that number is configurable as well. I just chose to start at 1 and go forward. But now that I've got my 1026, no matter what, when I come back into AnyView, or anyone that comes into AnyView, they can now filter on 1026 and see the 4 POs that are, maybe it's a special project that you're waiting for these things to come in, or special orders, or a prototype you're making, something like that. Or maybe it's a truck number, or whatever the use case is, there's a grouping functionality there. Okay, so now just to get into the fun stuff here, this is your data. As we mentioned earlier, you can make any of the columns read or write, depending on the user permissions. And to edit some data, for example, this is PO 467. I'm going to change the shipping instructions to something else. I'm going to change it to air. And you can see right away, it's changed both in AnyView, and if I went into SYSPRO, it would also be changed there. And now I can sort that with the other error. One at a time is fine, but also if you wanted to go and say, or maybe all of these errors should be something else, I can edit selected, and I can go round and edit them all. And again, it just edited all 5 of those POs in SYSPRO. Other options, when you right click on data, you can see the edit multiple columns. This one's extra powerful because not only are you editing one field over multiple POs, you can actually edit any of the writable columns over multiple POs. So maybe you're changing a date and a shipping instruction and an email. Maybe this is all the same supplier. So then you can go select all of these, edit multiple columns, and then you get whatever you enter here will change. If you leave something blank, it just ignores it. So you're not going to risk overwriting your data with blanks. So maybe I want to go put an email on these and add a buyer. Sure. Well, it didn't like that, but the idea is that when you enter whatever data you enter there, it'll update all those columns at once. Over on the side here, you can see that there's these little icons. Those indicate that someone's entered notes into AnyView. And so if I double click that, I can see what the note is. In this case, I just wrote test. Let's see, there's a bigger one. So you can't really see all the comments. So you can just double click it and you can see the whole comment, very important information that I put in there. On top of that, you can also see the comment down here. But in some cases, it's too much writing to actually fit in this little box. So you can either double click the note icon, or you can come over here and expand to show. So a few ways of seeing that whole comment quickly. Also with the down here, you can do a timestamp. So instead of writing the date in your name, you can do a timestamp, and then people in the future know who made that note and when. And that's important for the next person coming into AnyView. On top of that, other basic things that you can do, you can click a column header and sort. You can, like I showed you, you can hide certain columns, but on top of that, you can actually add new columns just simply by adding to the view in SQL. And so your SQL experts or IT companies or Umbrella can come and throw in another column for you, and it immediately gets updated in the system. So as soon as you restart, that new column will show up. It'll be completely editable or not editable, depending on your settings. You can add it and show it with this column. It's so there's no coding required to add new columns or change the order. It's all dependent on the view. So that is the purchasing example. We have another example to show you when we how easy that is to switch between. So I'm just going to close that down. And in my directory here, I've got quite a few options here, and it's all using the same program. And the only thing that's different between these is the view that is in SQL in the database, right beside your SYSPRO tables. And the other one that I was going to show is the collection tool. No one's screaming at me, so I must be correct about that. And just let that open for a sec. And so you can see right away, it's the same program, but the data is totally different. So all the columns, think of it like going from your purchasing Excel sheet to your collections Excel sheet, right? So you just come, open it up, refresh. The big difference is that here you can actually edit things. So maybe there's a few customer emails that are wrong. You can come in here and just edit it. So instead of going, I'm in this customer now, editing their email, and closing that customer, I'm going to the next one, I'm editing that email. You can come in here, and if all you did was go through 5 customers and edit their emails, you'd be saving yourself a ton of time right there. For example, if I wanted to go edit selected, I can go and do that. And you see that it did more than I selected because I selected, there's more of the same customer. So it updated the customer, and then it updated all the records that are associated with that. That's why copied more than I actually highlighted. And if I scroll over here, one of the nice things about this view is it showcases custom columns. So you can see over on the side here, you've got, these are all different invoices. And what I added was the due date based on the terms. So you can see there's the invoice date, but it auto calculates what that due date would be. So the collections person doesn't have to do that math or figure it out elsewise. Days to due is just an indicator like, oh, we have some delinquent accounts here we got to deal with, right? Because a negative days to due means it's passed. And then on this one, the filters that I chose are like, the 30 days, the 60 days, 90 days. So if you select those, again, see if I have any. Looks like I need to work on my filters. What happened is I'm using the last version of AnyView, and that's on me. There was a filter bug with that one that I've resolved, but for the demo purposes, we'll just keep going with this. So the notes, again, they're same notes column as the other purchasing tool, but in a different order. So remember the notes were over here, same column. All I did is I went to the view, I switched around some columns just because I wanted it in a certain order. And that's the collections tool. Obviously with collections, you might want to go by customer. So let's bring the customer in here. And then you can see customer, let's go customer 70. And what the search does is it looks at all the columns. So you see there's some customers that are like 6 and 10. Well, that means that somewhere else in the row, like their invoice, see there's a 70 in the invoice. So it's searching over all the columns. And that's definable as well. Maybe there's some like credit limits or document types that you don't want to be included in that. You have some flexibility over that as well. But in this case, I just want to show like totally different example. I'm going to export to Excel, and you'll see that when it comes through, it's going to be these new columns and just the ones that I filtered here. So this should be a bigger sheet. Yeah, so there's just what I have filtered here and lots of columns. One thing that you might have noticed is that this one doesn't have a date bar going across. The reason for that is that AnyView has two modes. One mode is what I showed you with the purchasing, where you can go by week, and the other mode is just a data view like this one. So I don't want to have to go through week by week to see what invoices are about to be overdue. I just want to see it all in one view, and then I can still turn group and filter all in one, and that's what I've done here. So you have, again, it's just a setting. You can say, I want this to be a date range based view, or I want it to just be a big data dump like this one. So then, now that we've seen the program, the other things in the back end are for the admin people, user maintenance. So very easy to add a user. You can just come in here, you say, I want to add Karen to EDU1, and I want to give her full access. And you hit the check mark, and now she's already in there. She can go and access with full access. If you wanted read only, of course, you could do read only. And then from this window, you can't add them as an admin. You have to do that a different way for an extra level of security. Going to filter maintenance. So again, this filter bar here, you can define these here, and you can have really simple filters like, aged group is 30 days or age group is 60 days. Or you can have advanced filters where it's like the age group is between a date and a date. And it all depends on your level of SQL foo, because you just type it in here. And then whatever you type here, for example, an equal sign, filter on value 12. you can get a sneak peek of the SQL. Maybe you want to actually take this and copy it into SQL and run it to test that it's what you wanted. Or if you wanted to go extra fancy, you can do things like that. Depends on how complicated you want to get, but this allows you, they're just fields that group together the SQL call. So whatever your SQL knowledge is the only limit. Or of course, if you need help, we're here to make lots of filters for you. And then highlighting rules. So one thing in AnyView is that you can have the rows change colors based on certain criteria. Maybe you want things to change color if it's late, like overdue, or maybe you want the US currency items to have a blue font and the Canadian items to have a red font. Things like that are fully customizable as well. And so what you can do is, for example, type in the customer, column name, or document type. It might be a better example. So the FG color, that's the foreground color. That means the text color. So you could say, I want my text to be blue and I want the background to be white. And the criteria is D, document type D. And the priority, so priority just means if your rule, or if a row satisfies more than one rule, which color do you want to be the one that wins out? And so over here, you can see that I have a priority 9 and a priority 8. So I'm going to say this is a priority 7 because I want this to override anything else that might come up. So I'm going to add that, and now it's in the list here. And for rules and filters, you just have to restart AnyView, which only takes a moment. And so now if you scroll through, we should see document type Ds have blue font. So it's a good visual cue right away. Oh, I've got a couple of credits in there or debits in there. And that's an easy way of visualizing them. So Karen, that's pretty much it for what I was going to show. I can stop sharing and we can go to the next slide on that list.
Great, thank you very much, Jeremy. I also just thought of a new business case. I thought actually the AnyView would be great for pricing. Like say if you wanted to bulk update pricing, whether it's on the customer side or on the supplier side, pull that data into the AnyView and be able to quickly update that pricing based on certain criteria, like buying groups or whatever.
Yeah, filter by product class or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just so you all know, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's brand new products, or there's still a couple little bugs that we're, clearly trying to still iron out. And so it's still work in progress. And we also welcome feedback to any changes or enhancements that you'd like to see. I think, Jeremy, I'm going to let you talk about the product roadmap.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, obviously, we're intending to add functionality and features to this and continue developing it. One of the first things that I want to get kind of crossed off the list is the emailing functionality. And so what that is because this is integrated with Office 365, I have, of course, you saw the Excel integration, but there's also Outlook integration. And that one is basically intended to be based on the customer or the supplier or other email that might be on the list. Maybe you add internal emails because you want to have it like a notification system, whatever it is. You can come in here and you can select your rows, and then you can hit email and it'll populate the email body, the subject with the lines that you've selected, and it'll say like, hey, can you follow up on these POs? Or, hey, customer, these are shipping on whatever date that is in AnyView. So you don't have to type out these emails to customers. It'll save you that time as well. The base functionality is already in AnyView. and it's basically opens up an email with the customer or the supplier email, and then it's up to you to write the body. But going forward, we want to have those like templates for the email body, so you don't have to type anything.
A good example I just thought of is on your collection tool. Like, say, as you're going through collections and making notes and you want to email or follow up on certain invoices, then you can email directly from AnyView. Or maybe you have a purchase order view and you want to send a confirmation or request for confirmation to your suppliers on certain orders or follow up, then easily you can do that from AnyView and email directly from there.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's a job query tool, you have the internal email of the production managers, and you can say, hey, this job, well, why is it due tomorrow, but it's half done, that kind of thing. So there's some, whatever email you have, you can send some template to. Company selection, again, that's an important one. So AnyView right now is tied to one company. If you want to do it for another company, you just have to have a second icon, but we want to put that all into one icon so that you're just flipping between companies within the tool and not getting out of the tool and opening up the B company and then opening up the D company. After that, the view selection. So if you love AnyView and you just can't get enough, we want to be able to switch between the views without, like you saw where I went into the folder and I went, okay, I'm going to look at the purchasing tool now. We want to tie those together so that from within the one interface, you can go, okay, I want to look at purchasing now, so I'm just going to flip this drop down. Or I'm going to look at collections now, so I'm just going to flip the drop down. So the idea is that closing and opening it takes time, and we want to avoid that if we can. Auto summing. So right now, you can click a row and sum it, and it pops up saying how much is on there. But what we want to do is actually auto sum, and maybe you define what columns you always want to see. And then it kind of like SYSPRO, where you can add an auto sum to the list. For this one, we don't want you to have to right click and sum a column. We want to just display for you if that's what you want to see. Q3, add custom columns. So right now you have to do it in SQL in the view. We want to just make it so that you can maintain your view within the tool as well. And then adding custom columns that might be not even tied to SYSPRO. We want that to be within the interface. And then the long game, some reporting. So report templates, add a tab for that. And then you can define what criteria you want to run your report on. That's going to be a nice to have down the road. And then business object integration. So maybe being able to transact like canceling a PO or bulk canceling POs, select 4 POs and say, cancel all these, or job completion, like these are all complete. Let's just complete them right from AnyView. And those kind of transactions, we want to use the proper SYSPRO interface, which are the business objects.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. And I'm sure it's fairly clear, but just to be very clear, this is Q1, 2, 3, 4 of next year, so 2023.
Yeah.
All right, in terms of pricing, the initial AnyView, so if you buy one view, it's $1,500. Each additional view that you want to add on is $750 plus an annual license fee of 15%, which is the same as SYSPRO. So pretty straightforward pricing. And now we're on to Q&A. We have a few questions in the chat. There's a few direct messages to me as well. We have one question asking, is it possible to view non-SYSPRO SQL tables and SQL views?
Yes, great question. One of the use cases that I've already been talking about is possibly with RightScan 8, because that product uses a database the same kind of way. And so pulling in SYSPRO information and RightScan information into a view, showing it here, is something I thought was an interesting use case. On top of that, Nomad, of course, is the e-commerce solution. It uses SQL as well. We could pull in Nomad information and have AnyView look at Nomad So you don't even have to have SYSPRO. Again, the tool is very much with SYSPRO in mind, but it works with any SQL database. As long as you have some key factors like proper database structure, you'll be able to pull data into here. So it's not tied to SYSPRO in a way where you have to use SYSPRO. It's tied to SQL, which of course SYSPRO uses.
Great. The next question is the general ledger view. What are the features of the GL AnyView?
It depends on what you want to be able to change in bulk. Obviously, the first thing to think of is summing multiple GLs. Just doing quick sums, exporting to Excel. Export. I don't know if I said that right, but being able to sum the column and go, okay, what are my balances? Or maybe you have GL budgets in your system and you want to look at those all at once. You can use this for that. You can update the budget numbers from here. And then exporting to Excel and sky's the limit once it's in there.
Actually, I did have a request this week from one client that was asking about an easy way to be able to see a group of GL accounts and the balances and just to see the sum of that. So maybe you have like a departmental expense or maybe one expense, multiple departments, and you just want to quickly see, well, what's my sum of those expense accounts?
Yeah, that AnyView.
I mean, like AnyView is not a financial reporting tool. So just to be clear, that's what Vivid Reports is good at. AnyView is just another way of easily displaying or summing information together.
Yeah.
The next question is, are AnyView data changes auditable in SYSPRO?
So there is the AnyView itself has tables that track everything that goes in and out. So you would audit those tables, not necessarily the SYSPRO tables. I guess yes is the answer. Sorry.
So you're saying that in AnyView, you would be logging any changes that were made, like mass updates that were made?
Correct. Yeah, and it's just stored in a table. So if if your auditors are like, show me all the changes that you've got through AnyView, you would just give them that, and it would show every transaction.
So it would show date, user, and what was changed, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's like a movement history.
If you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to contact us. You can contact Jeremy, you can contact me or Bonnie, and we're happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again for joining our webinar.